Almost there. Alrighty, we are recording. Welcome everybody. This is the Beyond the Track of January 2021. As Jessie just reminded me, it's the first one of the year. So let's get this thing rolling. As usual, I'll do a quick intro for folks who are going to be watching this later. Maybe, if you're watching this at some point and it's the first one that you're watching, I guess you would like to know what these meetings are all about. So we always go over a brief intro there. Oops, not starting at the end. It's like all wacky already. Hold on. Here we go. All right, so some quick introductions. I'm Claudio La Sala. You can find my personal writing channel on the internet as 3-Lap Rider on Instagram and YouTube. That's where I keep my own personal footage, like track footage and track photos and all that. Been riding on the streets for a long time on the track. I started in 2017, and it's a huge addiction for myself and pretty much everybody on this call and everybody who joins into this beautiful sport. Always a big thanks to the Beyond the Track supporters on Patreon. It's always very encouraging to know that folks are willing to contribute a little bit every month just to keep these things going. And it's not like we make a living out of it. The idea is to just have some fun, to do some fun stuff like creating our business cards or banner that we use at the track, helping out some of our fast friends like Garrett here on the call with his racing initiative and the things that he's going through. So it's always good to be able to help out however we can. And of course, always big thanks to you guys who are joining in live right now and folks who are watching this later. I mean, this is the whole reason why we record it, so that folks can actually get to this content at another point in time. So what is the Beyond the Track? This is something that we started exactly 3 years ago. We just celebrating the 3-year anniversary on the 17th when we had the very first meeting that happened 3 years ago. We've expanded that where we all get together at the track. We hang out not just to be talking bikes, but actually to be a little more specific, more methodic about how we're approaching our riding. We share our plans for that day at the track. We keep each other accountable to the goal that we said we were going to be pursuing. And then we share our experiences, our observations as we are riding together and learning together. We are, each other's coaches during our track days. Always a lot of fun. It makes all the more enjoyable. We've been doing this as an in-person thing up until pandemic started. When that was a thing, we switched over to virtual, online only, which also helps out for people who are farther from the office, where we used to have the in-person meetups. All of these video or these meetings are recorded, so we upload those, and those are all available for free on the beyondthetrack.net website. There's like over 43 hours worth of content there. Everything from how do you prep for your first track day. So we're just at the beginning of the season. If you know of people who are asking those questions, oh, I'm just getting ready to do my first track day ever. What do I need to do? Is there a checklist? How do I prepare for it? Well, there are videos for that. Or maybe you've just finished your first year. Now you want to kick it up a notch and you're thinking about how can I use action cameras to become a better rider? How do I prepare myself to work better with coaches? We've shared a lot of stuff around all of this, and we keep sharing. So there's plenty of content out there. Make sure to check it out and let others know about it as well. If you feel like contributing to this thing that we are doing here, please become a patron of the Beyond the Track on the Patreon website. If you go to the beyondthetrack.net website, you'll find a link. Not too hard to get there. That would be pretty cool. Becoming a patron, you also get access to the members only part of the website, where we have tools to help you, tracking costs of your trekking habits and or hobby, which is a pretty expensive one as you get into it. So trekking costs will help you just get to do more of it, and that's what we all are trying to do all the time. Checklist so that you have a peace of mind. You get to the track and you don't go like, oh, my tire warmers, oh, the bike keys, or whatever you need to have a good day at the track. You want to get to the track and just ride and have fun with it and learn and not be worried about things that you may forget. If you're like most people on this call, if you put together a track day plan before you go to the track, there are tools on the website to help you build those. Once you're back home and you're doing your debrief, what things worked out well, what things didn't work out well, what areas have I shown an improvement, what are the areas that I can see some improvements next time I go out. Linking to your videos on YouTube or wherever you put those videos, because like if you're like me, where I go through my video footage, I identify my friends who somehow show up at some point, show up on my footage. I tag them in these videos and then I send them links, because sometimes they haven't seen themselves riding on a track like that for a long time. And then most of the time people are very thankful to getting some footage of themselves so that they can see what are they doing, how are they doing their body positioning, body transition, the lines and all that. There's a lot to be learned from that. So we try to gather this information individually and share it as a community. It's been very valuable to us. So beyond that, we have been seeing some real cool custom suits show up at the track with the Beyond Track logo on it, which is just, it warms my heart. It's beautiful. Cannot tell you how much I enjoy seeing these suits show up. And we've talked our friend Jessie into, sharing the experience of, what does it take to actually getting a custom leather suit. So Jessie, floor is all yours, man. Make sure to unmute yourself. And by the way, let me also alternate to the presentation you've prepared for us. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Hello, everybody. If you would like to go to, I'll introduce myself.
All right.
So, my name is Jessie Ramirez. I just started track riding about 2 years ago. I have been riding motorcycles for about 6 years. Luckily enough, I started track riding because of Beyond the Track. So I'm happy to now be more involved to actually be hosting a meeting. So I've been riding for 2 years. I'm now officially in level 3 in Ride Smart. Still plenty to learn. It's just the beginning. I have my motorcycles on there. The picture you see is my 06 GSXR 1000. I also have a Ninja 250 and an NSR 50 that I go to the mini track with. Next slide, please. So the topic at hand is custom race suits. Why do you want a custom race suit? Why would you want one? There's many questions to this. So most people struggle to find proper fitment with traditional sizes. For me and many others, I know there are plenty of you out there that don't fit. You can go into a store and you pick one that fits really close to it, to you, and you have some things here and there that just don't feel right, or you're settling most of the time. You might get lucky if a traditional size does fit you perfectly and you're happy with it, but most of the cases with most people, you're going to be sacrificing something. And when it comes to riding on the track, you got to be comfortable if you want to ride fast or even have a good time. Another thing is, if you want something specific to your needs, as you go in later down the line, you may want to ride specifically for track days or racing or endurance, or you want something for hot weather, something for cold weather, something that's perforated. You may want a airbag. You may want different protection, a hydration pack, or an arrow hump or not. What's cool about custom race suits is that you usually have full customization. You can change it any way you want it most of the time, depending on who you go with. And you can get exactly what you want. Just imagine going into a video game, a racing video game, and you build your own character. Well, you're doing the same when you build your own suit. You make the suit the way you want it, and once you get it, you're gonna be happy with it. Uh, Another thing is, let's say that you're a new guy going to the track, or you can be someone that's working their way up, or you can be an established racer. You can be anyone on the spectrum of track riding or riding in general, and this getting a custom suit is still an idea. Reason why is because it can be one of two things. It can be you want to be comfortable or you want to be safe. What I mean by safe is really most of the time. Let's see. When I first started track riding, I went with the lower protection stuff. I got something like a built suit, and I really just went in, and I didn't think I was going to get so addicted or interested in the sport. I was just going to do it for fun. As you go up, you may get faster. And, the more track days you do, the faster you go, the more comfortable you get, the risks for danger go higher. And you start getting closer to understanding the limits of yourself or getting more comfortable to where you can push the limits. Well, if you start pushing limits, the risk does get higher and you can crash or, in some circumstances have a situation to where you do crash and you would like to have the best protection you can on you. And custom race suits, they usually make sure that you have that. Another thing is it's the best bang for your buck. If you're going to go out there and get a suit that's off the shelf, yes, it may be high quality suit, but the guys that you usually go with, at least in my case, they're presenting a pro level suit. So I wanted to put on a suit that I knew the pros were willing to wear and go out there and feel safe. And that's what I wanted. So that was another reason why I went with a custom suit, because I knew that I was going to not only put my money towards what I wanted, but it was a good investment. I was investing my money in my own protection, and I knew that it was going towards my safety. Next slide, Claudio.
Yeah.
So that is why you would want it. All right, so here's the process. Who I decided to go with was with Bison Track. Bison Track is local to Texas, Central America. I believe they are located in Oklahoma. They come to all the tracks in Santa Monica. They do come to our local track here in Houston. So I knew that they were close and they're working their way up, being more popular with the community. So I decided to give them a try. Next slide, please. Audio, next slide.
That's the beginning part. There you go.
That's better. Next slide,
Oh,
please, Claudia.
yeah. For me, it's showing the beginning one. That's not showing for you guys.
It is not showing it for me.
Oh, okay, so let me stop sharing and do the screen share again. All right. What about now?
No different for me. Any
Huh.
different for anyone else?
Hey, this is Michael. I can hear you guys okay. No problems
But
here.
can you see the screen share?
I see the current slide, the Bison Track slide.
Yeah, that's what I got as well.
No, that does not sound right. So hold on, let me try something here. Stop the screen share. Once again, split screen on the window. Do this. Still the same thing.
While we're working on that, I just wanted to add a couple items, and also kind of a roundtable here. What other companies are you guys aware of that offer custom-made leathers? Obviously, Earl and Garrett are using Flex, and they had good results for that. Are you all aware of any other companies? I believe, is it Dianese offers custom fit leathers. I don't know anybody who's ever used those before. I could be wrong about that, whether it was A-Star or if it was Dianese, but I believe they'd measure you up in Dallas. I hadn't really looked further into doing that. Um, I'm pretty good on leathers at the moment.
There's a company called Meef. Am I echoing with you guys?
You sound fine to me.
Yeah, I
No,
can
you're
hear you.
Okay, good. So there's a company called Mythos, and the one where we bought our Ovalis from, they recommended them highly. Uh, I didn't have the best experience with Mythos, only because the initial layouts and the initial draft designs weren't exactly what we wanted, and the customer service wasn't exact. Not saying that that's a bad product, but that's why we decided to go with Flex because they were extremely flexible. So the turnaround time on the feedback to the end product, that's why we went away from Mythos. But Mythos, I'm sure, makes a really good product, but they're out there as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, as we
There's
move
also
into the future and there's more custom-sized clothing and such available, I think it'll be, 20 years ago, custom-sized leathers, I think maybe you could get something from Bates, or I think you could get something from Held back in the mid-90s when I was riding back then. It certainly was outside my price range, but it was almost unheard of to have custom-made leathers unless you were a sponsored rider or something. So seems
there's
to be
also Pilot,
expanding a
which
little more.
is Pilot's actually a good brand. I've got a custom-made suit of theirs. They send out a very detailed measuring sheet, and pretty much every few inches you take a new measurement and then send it to them, and they submit that to their builders. It's a high-quality piece of equipment. And yeah, of course, I know some people who've got Dainese custom suits, which are brilliantly fitted, but you get what you pay for. The Dainese is definitely the very top end of the market. But yeah, Pilot is definitely one worth checking out. It's a lot cheaper than the Dainese, and it wasn't much more than a Dainese off the rack suit, but it was custom made, and I still have it, still wear it. Uh, let's see how long that's been. 6 years since I had that made. I've never crashed in it, but it certainly fits well.
You're definitely getting your bang for the buck out of that suit, Ben. Not crashing a suit is always a good policy.
That's the best way to not test the crash worthiness.
Absolutely.
That, that's definitely another point that I did not put on, but I would like to add is longevity. These lower level suits they usually get off of the rack or whatnot, they may not last nearly as long as a custom suit because they put the quality into it.
And another aspect to consider with riding suits is it's really good to wash them. It's not good to use soap when you wash them, but I've had a Dainese suit last for almost 10 years and be as good and comfortable to wear on its last use than it was the first time, because I kept it clean, and you keep the salt and the urea and all the body sweat chemicals out of it. So if you wash it on a regular basis, it'll actually keep it in much better shape.
Yeah, that's a that's a very good point, because Garrett can speak to how many times he's crashed in his first set of leathers, and
Yeah.
Go ahead, son, if you want to speak to it.
Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, the amount of times I've crashed in these flex racing suits, it's just ridiculous, and it's held up. I mean, there's a few tears in the spandex, like the blue part that you guys may see, but that's basically the only major damage that I could see or that I could feel actually that's actually in the suit. So other than that, it holds up really, really great.
Yeah, and to speak to Sean's point about washing them, when you guys break a set of leathers in, don't be afraid to take a shower in them and just walk around, because
Yeah.
we've we've had to do that.
So yeah, whenever you first get your suit in, you might want to just go take a shower in them, and then you can go ride, because that'll help with the flexibility, and also it will kind of get rid of all of the sweat and dirt and stuff that has accumulated over time in riding with it.
Good deal. You guys can still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Because my main computer here just froze, so I'm connected also on my secondary computer here.
Your secondary computer? Oh my goodness, quite an operation.
Yeah, I have two computers, 6 screens in front of me.
Yeah, his backup computer is the 16 core.
No,
You know.
it's not. But it's my
Yeah.
old trustworthy Mac. Like my 5, 6-year-old Mac is better than my 6-month-old Surface laptop. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and he keeps telling us he's not Batman, but he's got 6 screens there going, monitoring the planet. Nice.
Yeah, this whole time he was calling Alfred.
Yeah.
There you go. Cool. Jesse, still there, man?
All right, yeah, I'm still here. I can see the beginning process now. So, yeah, as I carry on, lucky enough for everybody, for Bison at least, they have their whole process on their blog, which is on their website, bisontrack.com. So I will give a brief explanation, just small key points on the whole process, but they actually have a very explained, detailed process blog on their website. So if you want to actually go and get more details on that, I would recommend going there. So they have many different, or they have a few types of suits. Lucky for them, they do offer different types. They I believe they have a Thor 1, the Thor 2, and then they have a vintage. Depending on what you want, I got the Thor 2, but depending on what you want is what you will pick. The Thor 2 is because it is the version, which will do multiple versions of airbags, because I wanted an airbag system. So back to the process, you will usually just pick your suit, and then you pay up front. You'll get an email confirmation, and then you'll have one of their consultants contact you. Usually, for me, it was strictly by email, but it's not limited to. You can always give them a call if you need to, if you want to text them or whatnot. But I didn't need to. it was the end of the season. I wasn't really planning on riding, so I knew that I could be patient on it. I didn't really have any needs to directly contact them other than email, because I could just shoot an email and wait. So from there, after you get your confirmation, they send you a package of templates. Basically, they have different styles of versions that they've already built on how they can make the suit. So it's, you know, how it looks, how it's made, what just to give you like a base idea on how you want your suit to look. I picked one of the templates, and then I gave them some colors that I was looking for. I told them what I wanted it to look like, what I was shooting for, and then basically from the email, they put it together, and then they'll send you a monthly picture to see what you think it looks like. Next slide, please, Claudio. So on the screen, you will see my rough draft. This is the actual draft that they sent me in email. What I actually did is I'm very specific on what I wanted. So I actually printed one of their blank templates, and I got some crayons and markers, and I mocked it up, and I sent them a picture, and I said, "Hey, this looks like a 12-year-old did it, but I want it to look like this, but in professional form." So I have lightning bolts all over. I have it silver with some shades of blue, and I wanted it to be very similar to the MotoGP Suzuki leathers, at least their colors. So from there, they'll work on you on what you're looking for, what designs you want. Once you're happy with it, you'll approve the design, and then they'll ask you what kind of patches do you want. Beyond the Track logo, I wanted a patch made, and I have it on my chest. So anybody that is looking directly at me, they can see it from while I'm wearing the suit. Then once you approve your design, then they can measure you up. You'll go get measured. So I believe they go around the country measuring people. They go to different tracks. You can also go to some of their locations. They have designated locations that you can go to, and they'll measure you, or you can do it yourself. Like Sean said, they actually have a template that they send you that has multiple measurements, and you can measure yourself or have someone help you. And you can send them the measurements based off of what you want. Luckily, they have a YouTube video that pretty much walks you through the whole thing, and you can get every measurement that you want, and you're very precise. I probably measured myself 2 or 3 times until I felt that my measurements were good enough for me. So from there, you'll send the measurements out, and then you'll just wait for the suit to be made. They'll double check with you, making sure that everything is, all your ducks are in the row. There isn't anything else that you want with the suit, or if there's anything out of the box kind of weird with your measurements. Usually they'll ask you what your weight is, and then they'll ask you if you want a race fit or a comfort fit. I went with a comfort fit. If you're not strictly riding all the time, some people around the holidays, they can gain weight or lose weight. So you want to have a little bit of wiggle room depending on, if you prefer more of a comfort fit or you want to be really tight. So from there, you just sit and you wait for a little bit. Next slide, please, Claudio. And one thing I might add is that weight. I mean, if you're getting your first suit for the first time, that weight it's like being in an elevator, because you're so excited to see your suit that you made for yourself for the first time. They are very quick on getting back to you and whatnot, but you want that suit right then and there. You'll want to come out, and they'll tell you it's in production, and you're hoping that you're getting an email the next week of a picture of it, but that's not how it works. So there it is. There's your new suit. You just got sent. It's been a little while, so you just got an email saying that your suit has been made. They send you pictures of it. Then you approve it from there. This is the pictures that are posted are from their production site where they are made. So they are not actually currently at that time with them. So those are the people that make it. They pretty much send you pictures of it, and they say, "Are you happy with the suit?" And of course, I was in love at first sight, so I told them, "Yep, send it to me." Then they told me that they are actually sending it. They're having it shipped to them because they have to QC it. They want to make sure that it's at their quality level before they send it to me. So then from there, once they QC it, then it will ship to you. So from them QCing it, it's about 4 to 6 weeks. I believe I have jotted down here in my notes, I believe I ordered the suit on August 27th. That was buying it on the website, and I had it delivered to my door November 1st. So that was roughly 8 weeks. All right, next slide, please, Claudia.
Yeah. When I got my suit, I was going to say they had the pictures up to me, and it looked like everything was done, and I still had about 2.5 to 3 weeks before I actually had it in my hands. Because when they take the pictures of the suit, it's on the other side of the planet at this point. It hasn't even shipped to the United States yet. So it's one of those. It looks like you're really close to getting it, but you still had to wait several weeks. So it gets your juices going. That's for sure.
It's another thing is since they're stationed up there in Oklahoma, they're since we're in Texas, they're a 3-day shipping from us. So once they get it, you can expect it within 3 days. They do send you tracking, so you can pretty much stare at it all day every day until the suit shows up at your door, which is what I probably did. I wanted to open the door when the guy was dropping it off, ready to snatch it out of his hands. But one thing you could say is be patient. It will show up. They are very attentive to making sure that you know where that suit is and when they get it. That's the only thing I could say. What I thought the service was pretty fast. I wasn't anticipating getting the suit so quick. I was close to the holidays, so some people, I'm sure that whenever the season is over, they're looking for a new suit. And then in some aspects, it could be before the season. They'll get a before season rush. So they do, I believe, ask when do you expect to have the suit by, and you can give them a sort of date, and they'll of course shoot for trying to make it to those dates, but they can't guarantee anything. The 4 to 6 weeks is roughly what they can do. One thing I will say, since they're so local to us, if you are interested in supporting your locals, I would support them. If you like the quality, you hear good things about it. Of course, like the other people on this call would say, go with the one that you really want because you know of the quality. But a lot of things spread by ear, so you may hear some things. But if some people say, "Hey, this is a good suit," I would go for it because that's what you want. Yeah, I wouldn't stray from changing my mind right now since I had a pretty good experience. Like I really like the suit. So I'm going to go into further detail on the next slide, please, Claudio. So once you get your suit, you're going to have to break it in. I did not do what Earl recommended by throwing it on and getting in the shower. I decided to go a different route. So what I did is it was actually, since it was still November, it was relatively warm. So I bought some break-in glove oil, glove gel. You can go to Academy or Dick's Sporting Goods, and you can get it's actually baseball glove break-in gel. And what I did is you can put it all over because it goes on leather. Yeah, you can put it all over the suit and put it out, and it will actually accelerate the process of the leather for it to break in. It softens it. It helps it break in. And once I put it out there in the heat and it accelerated its break in, I threw it on and I started stretching with it. So for me, it was a little stiff at first and it was hard to move until it was really hot. I decided I used it. I wore it around the house for one day, but only for about an hour before I decided to go to the track. Probably the by the end of that week. And when I did put it on, it was pretty tough at first. I've never had an actual suit fitted to me, and it is Bison. You know, they say it is a pro suit, so it had some restricting movements. One thing that I am working on is the arm mobility. Before I used to stick my arm all the way out, throw my elbow out, trying to thinking I can drag it and whatnot. Now this suit doesn't really give me that mobility. At most, I can probably stick my elbows straight out, as opposed to putting my elbow up in the air. Because of that, because of the break-in process, my pace dropped down. You know, I had to slow down and get comfortable in the suit. The suit restricted a lot of my movements at first, so I couldn't really go as fast. So for me, it took about 2 days in the heat for it to actually get comfortable to where it was adhered to my body. But then after the 2 days, then it felt pretty comfortable. It felt like it was a part of my body after that. Once it was a part of my body, then I could start actually try to work on my riding again. Once the suit fit right, I could move freely, other than the restriction on the arms. It did feel light, as if it was a part of me. The only thing I can say is the initial get on, it has not changed. So every time I put on the suit, it's always a little rough getting the suit on. Once I get the suit on and I got it zipped up, it feels fine. But till this day, I believe I've done at least 10 track days with it on. About 10, and it's still that initial on is a little rough, as opposed to what my other suit was, just a little cheapy built suit. Like I could throw that thing on and not have to worry about it, but this suit is, you know, designed for my body and it's supposed to be a little bit tighter, so it's a little tough to get on at first. That's one thing I could say.
Cool.
All right, next slide, please, Claudio.
Yeah. Hold on, I think I skipped. Oh yeah, it was the intro. Looking good there, my friend.
Okay, so first look. So that's the first look. That was, I believe, the second day of me riding at the track with the suit on. The first day I couldn't do anything like that. The first day, just, you know, take your time, stretch it out, just keep moving. That's all I could do. I still do the same thing. As soon as I throw the suit on, you still need to do some squats in it, stretch it out as much as you can, maybe roll on the ground. I have seen some people just roll on the ground, helping it break in. I'm not sure if that helps. I did not do that. I didn't think it helped me at all.
That's just a superstition.
Right.
But okay, so open discussion. Is there any questions or any small topics or things that anybody wants to add to it that I can answer?
Yeah, Jesse, I do have a question for you. In terms of hump size, did you go with your particular hump size for a reason? Like small, medium, large? Were you given the option with the Bison? And after that, I've got a question on panels, the actual panels versus like stretch. like the areas that you actually do stretch. Where Flex has with Garrett's leathers, they have certain spandex areas that you stretch that are not particularly prone to crashes, but they're very vital for arm movement and leg movement, body positioning. So yeah, with relation to hump size first.
Okay, so for hump size, I believe you have the option to change the hump size. You can get a smaller one. You can get a bigger one. I have the biggest one I believe you can get because I wanted to be able to put a hydration pack in it. So it is specifically for endurance. So I have the accessibility to put a hydration pack, which it did come with the suit. They gave it to me free of charge for me to have a hydration pack if I wanted to use it. I haven't used it yet, but it does fit. I know that you can change it. Michael, you want to jump in here? I believe you can have it completely removed. And if you see in the picture, I believe Michael does have it
Yeah.
removed in the picture.
Yeah, I specifically requested they build my suit without a hump at all in it. I want it nice and smooth on the back, and the primary reason I don't want a hump there is if I crash and I'm laying on my back, it potentially puts your neck in a very unusual position. And I've had EMTs tell me that that can be an issue. And since I don't need the aerodynamics, I just had it removed completely. I do kind of wish I had some hydration back there like Jessie does. But I'm also doing kind of short stints on the bike of only 30 minutes or so. So it is something, as Jesse points out, you can get whatever size you want or completely have it removed if you want. And ironically, when I've bought off the shelf suits,
No,
I have actually sent them in
with
to someone
London.
to have them modified and have it removed in most cases. So it's nice. I got exactly what I wanted there.
Yeah, Michael, when you were right, whenever you crash with a hump on the back, it really, really does put your neck in an awkward position. But I feel like it's totally worth it because if you high side the crap out of that bike and you land, and that's gonna hurt without a hump. And I feel like that awkward neck position, I think it makes up for a little bit of that safety, just because of whenever you crash, you can just kind of lay down and not really worry about it.
And the the other reason that's a good point, Garrett. The other reason I asked about the hump size is because when we had the leathers made for Garrett, one of the things that I took into consideration was the way the helmet formed and fit into the back on the stretch. So essentially the aerodynamic properties. So if your body positioning and everything else comes into play, then you essentially want, especially with something like a pista, you're going to want to have that foil come right back over that hump. And Garrett, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's one of the things that, and I was just wondering what decisions went into that hump or no hump. So Garrett, what do you think about that?
So yes, absolutely. The wing of the helmet that I use, the AGV Pista, the wing of it that goes around the back of the helmet, it perfectly fits in that medium hump size that I have in my suit. I feel like it doesn't really help much with speed, but aerodynamics, yeah, I can't see the wind, so I don't know if it helps with aerodynamics, but I know it feels nice because whenever you're in the back straight, you're going to want to scoot back and then put your head up, so it kind of just feels really, really smooth and nice and just kind of uniform across the whole suit. And it helps with focus because I don't have to, with my old helmet, I would have to deal with the back of that, the helmet digging into my neck, and that would kind of take away from my focus and cause me to mess up in one of my braking markers, which is not good. So, yeah.
I wanted to ask earlier, Garrett, when we were talking about breaking in the suit, what was your experience with breaking in the flex suit? Were there any peculiarities or things you had to do? You did the shower routine, And that's something I want to do with my suit once it warms up and I can go outside without freezing.
Yeah.
Because my suit doesn't fit quite right, so I wanted to try that approach too to get it to mold to my body a little bit more. What was your experience with breaking in your suit so far?
So with Flex, it is my absolute first leather suit. Yes, it is custom made to me. And with the breaking in process, it was super weird at first, but then I started doing the same thing over and over again, and it started working. So taking like a boiling hot shower in the leather suit, and then going outside and just hopping on your bike and over exaggerating everything on the track, it really, really, really works because that hot water softens up the leather and it kind of helps you break it in and get that leather to stretch a little bit. And
And
it,
Garrett, you mean
yeah,
when you say going on the track, you mean drills, like what we
yeah,
did? Yeah.
yeah, like going like on the track, or you can just do drills in your front, like driveway or street or wherever, you know. Just as long as you have a soaking wet hot suit, it should be fine.
Now, after you wore the suit and it was wet, I'm presuming you didn't wear it so long that it actually dried out while it was on your body. How much drying took place before you actually took it off? So that's one of the things I'm thinking about is I'd put my suit on, get it good and wet, go out to the garage, sit on the bike, probably sit on a stool or something in the garage while I work on something for maybe a couple of hours with it on my body. So it has a little more time to take a set. And I was wondering how long I should probably sit around in the suit, if it would be 30 minutes, an hour, or if I should wear it all day. So trying to
Garrett,
get an idea of how
you want me
long
to
to
take this
wear
one,
it.
Garrett?
Yeah, you take it.
Okay, so when we did this, we did it at Cody's direction, and because we honestly couldn't get the suit broken in because it was so heavy for all intents and purposes. It was his first suit, but in answer to your question, Michael, it took almost a day. Like we went out, we did the drills, we hung it up on the hanger in the sunlight, on the fence, in the backyard, in the sun, just and waited and waited and waited. And the whole time we were going in there and making sure that, everything was still fitting and right. But I will tell you this, even though I say that, the one detriment that technique has was the effect that it had on the lining, because the lining deteriorated just because of, the moisture and everything else. But the leathers felt amazing. So
Yeah, you're also not
Yeah,
starting with leather that's 2 years old to begin with and is all salted up and contaminated. New stuff behaves very well.
And it's also very important when it is wet that when you dry it, make sure you dry it as quickly as possible because you don't want it to get any mildew. So what I do is I hang the suit over a big fan. So that way there's a constant heavy flow of air through the suit, dries it out quickly, and then that's when I coat the whole thing with Lexol. The Lexol really makes a big difference. It really nourishes, and you can see the Lexol just soak into the leather. So you want to minimize the time that it's wet, and then as soon as you hit that Lexol, you can just see it gets so much softer and more flexible and pliable.
Now that's a great point, Sean. I wanted to ask about that. When you're treating the leather, there's two sides to the leather. There's the coated side, the outside of the suit, and there's the inside, which is more like suede and is actually very absorbent. When you apply the Lexol, do you apply it to the inside of the suit after you've removed the lining, or do you apply it to the outside of the coated suit? And what kind of penetration do you get into the leather?
For me personally, for all the different suits I've had, multiple brands, Dainese, Pilot, uh, and a few Australian brands, it was basically a matter of just putting as much Lexol on until it stopped absorbing. So if you put it on and it just soaks in straight away, then it needs more. And then I would give it another wipe. I don't use a big cloth, just a tiny little square of cloth, because otherwise that cloth just absorbs all the Lexol. Put a little bit on there, wipe it onto the leather, and then if it soaks in, put more on. Wipe it on. If it soaks in again, put more on. And then when it doesn't soak it in, that's when it's got as much as it needs. And I only do it on the outside, on the treated side, except for the little zipper covers. So for example, in the cuffs on the wrists and the ankles, there's usually a little flap that covers over the zipper. I put it on both sides of that because that's where it's directly in contact with your skin. And I want to make sure that that's as flexible and pliable as possible. So I put it on both sides.
Awesome. Thanks for the feedback on that one. This is an avenue I'm going to be going down very soon. So very timely.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Sean. When you mentioned zippers, that is the one thing that besides the panels and where you want your expansions to be, the zipper is the one thing that I wish I could have done different. I just went by the recommendation. We got lucky with the plastic zippers because at least with Flex, you've got metal or plastic. Do you recommend one or the other? We just got the plastic, and on his new leathers this year, I chose that as well. And this time we didn't choose a removable lining. I chose a fixed lining. But specific to zippers, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just had what is it? Leather and lace just replaced the third plastic zipper on my pilot suit. So I think that there was the third one that broke, and previously she had replaced two plastic ones with metal. And I think she said that the ones that she replaced with metal broke because of the suit sizing was not correct. She then replaced another plastic one with a heavier duty plastic one. So it depends. I think it's got two metals and two plastic ones now, but the plastic ones are the heaviest duty. But mainly that was because of an error in the way the suit was built. I've got these freakishly large calf muscles. And
Oh yeah,
when they made the suit, it was a little too tight in that area.
right.
So she put an expansion panel on both calves and replaced them with a heavy duty plastic zippers, but the ones on the wrists are now metal.
Right. Yeah, and that's what we went with was the heavy duty plastics.
Right.
Only because our first go around with the break-in with metal, obviously there's rust, and the last thing I want to do is spray WD-40 on my leathers or Garrett's leathers.
I don't know about that. I'm a big believer in the healing properties of WD-40, but
So I have
personal
actually,
thing.
not to take away from the topic, I actually cleaned Garrett's R3 entirely, taking your advice with the WD-40, and it worked amazing.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear it.
The shop wasn't very happy with me because they had a slippery floor, but that's their problem, not mine.
Yeah, I've gone through a few cans of WD-40 since the meeting.
Yeah. Well, my girlfriend's MV Augusta is 18 years old, and it loves the WD-40. I mean, the plastics on it that I've treated with the WD-40 compared to the ones that were not treated are in much better condition. So it's definitely a good idea. And I'm not convinced that it's not good for suits. I know I've cleaned mine a few times at the track with a big grasshopper stain, and the WD-40 got it off and had no adverse effects. But that's just me.
Who needs a Tide Pod?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing better.
Hey guys, I have a quick question. So whenever you crash, you know how there's all the scuff, like the scuff marks on your suit. If anybody has an answer as to how to get them off, that would be amazing because I've been trying to get these off forever and I just can't.
I think the answer is WD-40.
When I was in high school, actually, I had a job coloring leather sofas. So we actually got some paint that you can use, and it's the brand that I found here in the US is something like Turtle paint, but it's literally a paint for leather. So it's still porous, but you scuff up the leather around the area that's damaged, and then you can paint over it. And I crafted my Dainese W frame leathers, and I peeled off all of the sewn on Dainese logos, and I painted them with this paint, and it was difficult to tell that the damage was there at all. So it's definitely possible. Just do a Google search on leather paint, and you'll find it. And it comes with a solvent and then the paints, and you can also get clear coats, but I never worried about that. But it's definitely possible, and it's definitely easy. I've got some pictures somewhere of the process I used, and I changed the color of my boots and my suit because it had so much black on it. I wanted to get a little more white. So I changed the color scheme of that Dainese W frame so the back was half white and half black. So it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I was going to say I've used various products for the same thing, and it's just painting over. It's nice and vinyl, flexible. I've had good results with it, and especially if you want to change the color of something. Obviously, it's hard to make black into white, but go in the opposite direction. If you have scuff marks across your butt, well, just make your butt black. Covers up a lot of the asphalt stain.
Yeah, one of the things that I've found, Garrett, that I've done with your leathers that I didn't tell you about, and I use this as a cheating technique, but I use black magic tire foam, and I spray it and let it sit overnight. Uh, it is essentially the same thing that we used to use or I used to use in high school to clean my tennis shoes. It is just a foam and just you wipe off. Except the black magic tire foam, you spray and walk away. But usually when you come back and you see your leathers bright and shiny new, that's probably why.
That's why whenever I went to go to the track the next day, I was always slipping off across the seat.
Yeah, that'll
That
definitely
was
get you moving from left to
It's
right.
training body positioning.
Yeah, sure.
that was one of the things that I found with the baseball mitt gel, the break-in gel, is it did make the suit very slippery. And it took a while for that to rub off to where I started getting traction on the suit again.
So let me ask a question here, Jessie and Garrett. If you were going to have a custom suit made again, what would you do differently at this point? Based on what your experience has been so far, how can you make it better?
So I've got my suit on the way. It'll be here 2 Wednesdays from now. And what I did differently is instead of, my dad said this earlier, instead of having the removable lining, I would have the fixed lining, which I'm getting. And whenever I crash, I have this tendency to land on my hips, which I need to fix, but I have a tendency to land on my hips. And so I put extra padding in the hips as a request. And also I would have, what is it? Not, how do I explain this? You know what? I'm not even gonna try. Dad, you take the floor.
No, I mean we the only bonds we made was the hips, the extra padding around the hips. Um, we kept the hump sizes the same. We accounted for more room. It is still a race fit, but we accounted for more room in the back because one thing I've noticed last year with you riding was that, and this may not apply to everybody, but one thing I noticed with Garrett, his back and arms got really pumped over the course of a track day and even races. So the suit that I got originally was perfect for his fitment. The centimeters are perfectly right, but then it had to be broken in, and so on and so forth. So what we did this year was essentially account for that pump. It's not much. It's really just a little bit, and I think if we did the break-in better this year that we did last year, we would be okay. But I accounted for just a half a centimeter over on the circumference, just to account for the pump, because your body will build pump, and your muscles will accumulate um, lactic acid, right? So as you go along during the day, you have to keep in mind, yeah, this feels great when I first get on the track, but is it going to feel good at the end of the day? Do I just want to take it off and just walk around? And those are the conversations that Garrett and I had the last part of last year. So yeah, so this year just really just minor adjustment, but I think Garrett was dead on. I think the big major adjustment was the hips. Yeah, and learning how to fall is big. Garrett and I had this conversation a couple of weeks ago.
Absolutely, yes. Learning how to fall, yes.
and
That
and make sure your leathers adjust for that.
Yeah, that's a good point that you add, Earl, because I was actually, as you said it, I thought the same thing. Is that I do, now that you're saying it, I think I do get a pump in both of my legs and forearms throughout the day, and it does seem to feel a little bit tighter as the day goes on. And that's probably one thing I would change. I would probably try to do an alternative to mesh lining, because the mesh lining seems like I'm just sticking my legs in like a ball of hay, I guess you could say, because it getting the legs on from the suit is the worst for me. It's but I may have to change my track day plans to get to the track maybe 10 or 15 minutes sooner, so I can make sure that I can get the suit on in time. It's it's like I didn't expect it to be so tough at first.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm no pro rider like Sean, but I will tell you, from the times that I've ridden, and I've ridden for almost 20 years, it's I just go from my experience, and I remember back in the day we didn't have the technology that is available right now. So why not leverage that, and just riding something simple like a bicycle or motocross? You're going to get an arm pump. You're going to get a leg pump. So accommodate for that. If the comfort fit is good, great. Uh, that's not what Garrett. I don't want him to ride a comfort fit suit. I don't think he wants to ride a comfort fit suit. But not disparaging a comfort suit. I actually own one. It's actually a replica. Maverick Vinales. Yeah. So, my man. But yeah, having said that, it really like speaks to like, why do you go work out and wear compression suits? Because you want your muscles to be braced. You want everything to adjust, and that's why my other question on the panels, I had, because I make sure that with Flex, and the reason we went with Flex is because the way they adjusted their panels under arm, beneath the legs, in the crotch, it just kind of fit just right. But yeah,
I have three questions here for you guys. Um, all these custom shops like Bison Flex, do they give any kind of recommendations, like their recommendations for like breaking in, taking care of your leathers, and what's the story there?
so we didn't get any recommendations. Because honestly, it is so individual. I knew what I was doing with my leathers, which were store bought 15 years ago. Cody Kitchens was the one that told Garrett to do the shower thing. I didn't even think of that years ago because I was a poor college kid. I didn't want to get in a shower with my brand new leathers. But no, Flex didn't. They don't recommend any kind of methods. But everything that we've talked about today, honestly, if the leathers, this is just my opinion, if the leathers are good enough, they'll withstand. And Sean, correct me if I'm wrong. You're the expert in the room. If the leathers are good enough, they'll withstand anything that you're going to throw at them. Because honestly, if they can't withstand a shower, then you don't want to crash them.
Yeah, just make sure you don't take a shower in a suit that has an airbag in it. That's not a good thing.
Good point.
Yeah. But I've been washing my
Claudio, I'm
suits
pretty
for.
sure you could relate to that statement.
Was that Garrett?
I'm pretty sure Claudio could relate to that statement. Like he'd think about getting in the shower and like, oh no, this has got an airbag in it.
It's got an airbag.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, even with like the first time I went out to a track day and it was gonna rain, I'm like, oh, now what do I do? How do I ride with this suit that has an airbag and I don't have the the raincoat over it? Like, oh crap.
Yeah.
So,
I had
yeah.
that same
Give me a
problem.
trash
Claudia.
bag and a couple of
Oh,
pairs
yeah?
of scissors and I'll be fine.
The solution is simple, Claudio. Put a Beyond the Track T-shirt over it.
Well, no, that would not do. I mean, depending on how much it's
It's
raining,
not waterproof.
it's not waterproof. So here's what I
No.
did, because when I first got my Danes, so I went after this answer, right? It's like, okay, if it's raining, what do I do? So I got the Danes raincoat thing that you put over your leather suit, which is not cheap. It was like maybe $110 or something like that for a rain like coat. It's ridiculous. But I said I'll try it. Well, I tried two sizes. I couldn't make it fit over my leathers. It was just like, no, there's no way for me to get in there. So I returned that. And then I remember it was when I rode Sachsenring. It was about to rain all day, and there was a Danish guy there. So I asked him. He said, "Well, as long as you protect the USB port, you are good." So he just gave me some oh my goodness duct tape, just like a square, and put it like right on the USB port. And I said, "Are you sure about that?" He said, "Yeah, this is the only place where water could get in. As long as that thing is protected, you should be good to go." I'm like, "All right." Yes, like you are the expert. And sure enough, I mean, I rode most of the day under heavy rain there, and the suit is still here, functions just properly, as I could attest in 2019 when I crashed and the airbag did deploy. So I was glad that that was the case. So that was my experience with that. The other question I was gonna ask is, so as far as like one piece suit, like Jessie, my first one was just a built suit, which is like you put it on, you get it off. It's just like a regular, sleeping t-shirt, right? It's just not the real deal, right? So it was not a big thing. When I got my Dainese, the guy at the store said, "Well, yeah, it will take a little while, for it to break in, and it's very tight. You have to get it tight because it will, break in and all that." And I got it on my way to Coda. So I got it at the store, and I was gonna ride Coda Saturday and Sunday. And I'm thinking, oh man, was that a bad deal, right? Well, first session round robin, yeah, I'm feeling okay. It's a little bit tight here, a little bit tight there, but it's not bad at all. By second session, it was perfect. And this is how I've been feeling it from the second session I ever ridden with that suit up until now. So my question is it the type of leather? Why is it that for me it worked out so well? I mean, it was not painful at all to break in that suit. Because my understanding is that they use different kinds of leathers, right?
They
There's
do.
that.
They do, Claudio. So you said these are DNECs, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the reason the DNECs are so expensive is because they use, well, outside of the kangaroos. Well, were they kangaroos, Claudio?
I don't know.
No, the one Claudio's got is the same as mine. It's
Yeah.
not
Okay.
it's cow. Their kangaroo ones are lighter and tougher, but they don't last as long. I'm told that the kangaroo leather does not have the resilience of cow leather, so
Right.
that's why they don't sell as well. It's you don't see many of the kangaroo ones around, and typically, uh, yeah, they're great because they're thinner because the leather is tougher, but they don't last as long. But
Right.
from what I've heard, yeah, Dainese uses a very expensive brand of leather, a very expensive variety. So I had the same experience as Claudio. Mine broke in so quickly. I also happened to be exactly the same or the right size and shape for a Dainese. So my off the shelf, off the rack Dainese fits me better than my custom made Pilot, which is unusual. And it sort of made the whole custom ordering system or expense a waste of money for me because yeah, my Dainese fits me better than the Pilot, but that's going to be a pretty rare occasion. I'm just lucky that I happen to be exactly the right shape for the Dainese. But usually it's a matter of you get what you pay for. When you pay that much for a suit, yeah, it's gonna perform pretty well. And yeah, mine broke in really quickly, but I wash it every other time I use it. If I'm that is if I'm riding 2 days in a row. If I'm riding only one day a weekend, then I'll wash it every single time.
Yeah, and Claudio, specific to your question, like uh, the research that I did when I was buying Garrett his leathers, of course, my leathers were all bought off the rack when I was riding track. Um, Built Sedici, and I was lucky enough to fit in something off the rack and be comfortable, but I was nowhere. I didn't want to be competitive as he is. When I did my research, there's a lot of work that goes into tanning the leathers, where they source the leathers from. Whether if it's cowhide, it's fine, but it's and I hate to make this analogy, but it's essentially like Angus steak versus Wagyu steak. The leathers and the tanning process are all different and they're sourced different. And companies like DNEC, they source it exclusively um, for those folks that purchase it from them. So that's what makes the quality of the leathers just that much better. It's just as different as if you go buy a Lexus with a leather interior versus a Lamborghini. You're getting two different kind of leathers for a specific reason.
Okay. So that leads me to the my third question that I had here. Price tag. I mean, how does it compare? Like getting like a suit, just off the shelf like that and getting a custom made one.
I will tell you, my off the rack Sedici suit, which is the last one that I wore at MSRH, that was $400,
Right.
but it fit me like a glove.
Hmm.
But it was not the color pattern that I wanted. It was black. It was hot, fixed lining, metal zippers, but it fit great. The leathers that Garrett had, but it didn't grow with me. Right as I rode, it never adjusted. Every single time I put it off, it was like I'm wearing a coat off the rack.
Right.
With Garrett, his leathers that they cost our first set of leathers cost about $1,200,
Okay.
and this year they gave us a little bit of a discount, a couple of $100, so just right under 1,000. But what I've seen, and the reason I went back to Flex, even after going to Leather and Lace and searching for so many folks that would make youth leathers, because he had to have it custom made because he's a growing kid and I can't just buy a static size. So it grew with him. So that flexibility, that malleability of the leather,
Yes.
And that's so yeah. So off the rack, 400 on sale at Cycle Gear or whatever, and
Mhm.
versus like $1,000. I think it's worth it. I don't know.
Yeah, like Sean said, you really do get what you pay for. So if you pay like a $400, so if you pay $400 for, let's say, a built suit that you found that like on eBay or Craigslist, you're really getting a cheap suit that is probably pre-worn and crashed in a bunch of times. And if you crash, it'll literally just disintegrate underneath you. But if you pay, let's say, like $1,000, like Dad said just a couple of seconds earlier, you like. I keep going back to you get what you pay for. If you pay an expensive amount, you get a really good set of leathers, and if you pay a really not good amount, then you get a not good set of leathers. So yeah, back to Sean's point, you really do get what you pay for.
Yeah, just
Right.
remember hospital bills are a lot more expensive than
Oh
400
yeah,
bucks.
absolutely. And my
Exactly.
question is more even not necessarily like how does it compare getting like one of the low end suits, right, versus a custom build. I'm more thinking about comparing, say, a Denny's, an Alpine Stars, one of those off the rack compared to a custom made one.
So
Well,
this is
the
where
other
my question was regarding the panels. When we ordered our leathers through Flex, they asked us very, very specific measurements with relation to where the leather panels were, as opposed to where you need to stretch, which is where you have your spandex or
Mhm.
whatever. So that engineering is not something I got off the rack.
Right.
And so I see the difference in Garrett riding as opposed to me riding in leathers. His freedom in movement is so much better than I could have ever hoped for with just an off the rack set of leathers. So being able to panel these things together, almost kind of like an Iron Man suit, you know?
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Or better yet, a Batman suit.
Right? Now we're talking.
Yeah.
well, the other thing I was going to say versus the custom suit and how much money you spend is, yeah, you can spend more money on a custom suit, but the real liability is if you get the measurements wrong when you get your suit, you can't return it because it's custom made, and that if the measurements are wrong, it eliminates every advantage of having a custom suit. This is a little bit of my experience because I measured my legs wrong. I can't fix that now. So I have a rather expensive suit that doesn't fit me right. I have some ideas. We're going to do the shower thing and see how much of that I can gain back. But I just wanted to throw that one in there that yes, a custom suit has a lot of theoretical advantages, but if you do the measurements yourself or you do them with someone else doing them for you, be careful because if you do get the measurements wrong, the suit's not going to fit right and you're going to be stuck with it
That
without a
that's a
whole lot
great
of.
point, Michael. It really is. Because we've had to
Yeah, that's
measure. How many times did we measure, Garrett, for a fursuit?
Too many.
You
Too many.
got you got so sick of me measuring you.
He's like,
Yeah.
all right, Garrett, hold this. I'm like, ah.
Yeah, and that's one of the mistakes I made was I measured myself because there wasn't someone else there to do. So I did things with duct tape to hold the tape measure where it needed to be, and I tried to stand up correctly, and I still blew some of the measurements by about 10 millimeters. And it's the difference between my thighs fitting correctly in the suit and not. And the other alternative is if you're not getting a custom suit and you're buying something off the rack, something you can do buying off the rack versus a custom suit is you can go into Cycle Gear and you can try on a bunch of different suits and find out, yes, this fits, no, this doesn't. And what I did 2 weeks ago was I went up to Dallas and I went to Moto Liberty and I spent hours trying on different suits all the variations in sizes because they have a wonderful inventory. I was able to try it on until I found something that fit right. And I rode that suit last weekend, and it made a vast difference in my riding with a brand new suit. Break-in was not a big issue. I had the mobility I needed, but I had the advantage of being able to try on I tried on 6 different suits, and I came to the size that I needed, which with the custom suit, I'm kind of rolling the dice because I can't try it out. And once I have the suit, it's kind of locked in. Now, if I have the sizing I need in the future and I'm reordering the suit, I know which adjustments may or may not be needed. So I think it's more repeatable then. But that was one of the things I learned is you have to set the sizing and then hope for the best.
So that just made me think of another question. With all these companies making the custom suits, do they have or do they offer like a service? Say you crash, now one of those panels has been compromised, so it needs to be replaced, and you need to do like QC on it to make sure that it's still reliable. Do they offer some sort of service where you send in the suit, they work on it, and send it back?
With
Yeah, I
Flex,
know
Bison?
Pilot does. Yeah, Pilot does.
Or-
Dainese does.
yeah, with Flex we haven't experienced that. I wish I could have explored that last year. Considering the fact that I'm funding all of his racing myself, I couldn't wait for a replacement or whatever. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, I was wondering because
Sure.
my Dainese, when I crashed, I had to send it in because of the airbag and all that. And as they do the inspection on the whole suit to make sure that nothing got compromised, because that's the thing, they will look like through everything. Found like there was this one panel close to a knee that probably when I went tumbling, it kind of like crashed and messed up some of the stitches there or whatever. They actually had a replacement part shipped from Italy to replace that. It could, of course, be just another way to get some more money from me. I don't know. There's no way for me to tell. But it seemed to be more of like a quality control type of thing to make sure that,
Yeah,
thing
no,
would.
that's a good point. With the flex suits, or at least with Garrett's suit, we have Kevlar, linings on top of whatever. So if there is any damage, it's going to be the panels, and it's going to be just cosmetic. The integrity of the suit through, 12, 15 wrecks last year. Most of them low sides, but there was one Scorpion and there was one pretty bad high side.
Mm.
It held it. So yeah, I mean, I would not put
Well,
him back on the track if the
right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Right. But
one of the items I wanted to add here, Claudio, is talk to people that repair suits and get their opinion on, because they've torn apart the suits, replaced panels. They can tell you how well the suit is made. Again, it's somewhat subjective, but leather and lace, for example, they'll give you feedback on if you're thinking about buying a suit. Ask them how many they've repaired and what kind of problems they've run into. I use a gal up in Arkansas. She does my repairs up there. She's been doing it for years. And if I want to know A-Star versus my Tai Chi leathers, which are my preference, I haven't got her opinion on the Bison at this point, but ask some of the shops that do repairs, and that's another source of getting that kind of feedback too.
right. Makes sense. Cool. All right.
Another quick item I just wanted to share with everybody. Sean this might ring the bell with Sean. Keprotec, those stretchy sections on a leather suit. Those are the Kevlar reinforced. And I just want to reiterate, Kevlar is absolute crap for abrasion protection. DuPont, in their literature, admits to the fact that the fibers are prone to fibrillation. They do not stand up to abrasion. I did multiple tests in the lab doing this back when I was in college and doing abrasion studies. Kevlar is very, very strong tensile strength. If you use it appropriately in a suit, it does a good job, but Kevlar itself has no abrasion resistance. That's why it is blended with nylon in these Teprotech panels. And one of the things I was going to say about a suit, every time I've gone down, often the leather has wonderful durability, but those Teprotech stretch panels, I've almost always had to have one of those sections replaced by a leather repair shop when I've gone down, because the amount of damage it takes is so much more than the leather. So likely if you're having to repair a suit or something like that, that's where it kind of gets feedback on the repair shops, whether they do those kind of repairs and they have familiarity with working with Teprotech, because usually that's about the only thing I've had to get repaired on my suit. The leather, the seams, all that tends to hold up. I haven't crashed on a sheep suit, but that's one of the more common pieces that'll just take more damage just because it is more susceptible, because it is blended with lycra, but the predominance of the material itself is actually made of nylon, and then it does have Kevlar for tensile strength inside. So it can take a heavy load, but it can't take an abrasion load, and that's why it performs so poorly. But usually that's in stretchy sections on the suit that are meant to give you mobility, and they're not in high impact zones. So they can kind of get away with that. I remember 30 years ago, back in the 90s, they made all Kevlar suits and they sold them as the space age material. But man, if you hit the ground in one of those suits, they just looked horrible. Nothing like leather. They just didn't survive it very well. But that was the point I wanted to make about Kevlar. It's really in there for the tensile strength and to hold things together, but it's really getting its abrasion protection from the nylon component of the knit fabric in itself. So.
I have a question for you, Michael. Since you're, since you've crashed in multiple suits, do you have any things that you have to say about whether the Bison or your Tai Chi suits on the quality and how it handles up to it?
Well, I've crashed both of them. I would say I have no complaints with the Bison durability at this point. I did have a single crash on the suit the second time I wore it. It was a minor crash, but I would say cosmetically it doesn't look all that great, but certainly structurally there's not a thing wrong with the suit at this point. So I'm glad to have the durability from it. And the good news is I didn't tear up the Teprotech that's in it. So I have no reason to send it in for any kind of repairs at this point. The only other feedback I have is that it seems like the Bison suit has better perforation than the Tai Chi suit. That is has long been my go-to. And one of the reasons for the Tai Chi preference is we live in Texas where it's just hot as hell. And it is one of the best ventilated suits. But the Bison suit, one of the appealing things to me was I could customize it and tell them, I want maximum ventilation on this leather because I want to stay cool. And the other piece of getting the custom suit is the color choice was all on me. I could have any color I wanted, whereas if I buy something off the rack, it tends to be either black or red or all black or something that goes along with a Ducati color scheme, it seems like. There's not a lot of variation in color out there, and I really wanted a suit that had a lot of white in it so that I would stay a little bit cooler in the sun. And a custom suit was really the only way I was able to get that. Anyway, so durability-wise, I'm quite happy how the Bison pulled through. So I think it's going to be long-term durability-wise, unless I have a really high-speed get-off. It's easily at least matching my Alpine Star suit, which that one got fairly torn up in a single high side.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I have also low sided in my Bison suit, and compared to my built suit, it's totally night and day. Big difference in quality and protection. I can say I didn't feel a thing. I did crash on a mini bike, just like how you did, but it definitely I felt way more protected than something like a cheap suit or even a used suit. I also have a used Komodo suit, which is I believe that was like amateur racers did that back in the day. It's American made. I have crashed in that one. That actually came with some protection too. It had some hip protectors and whatnot. It's I crashed in that one, and I fractured my shoulder in that suit. The suit looks unscathed, but it the crash did not feel like how it did on in the Bison suit at least, and that's just going off of feel.
Yeah, with that said, one of the comments I've had from the Bison suit so far is the body armor that's in it is my absolute favorite of every suit I had. I've pulled the shoulder pads out and worn them in other suits. Um, they have a nice volume to them, so there's a lot of impact area available. I feel like they're more compliant as well, so they fit my body better. Yet they still have that volume to give you the impact protection. Because I have my Alpine Star suit. I think the body armor is okay in that, but I really think one of the standout features of the Bison is the body armor. And it's interesting because we see each other at the track, but you generally don't see what's inside the suit and what the body armor looks like. I've tried third-party body armor replace that. I don't really like the body armor in the Tai Chi suits, and I tend to change those out for something else. But man, if I could get that Bison body armor in every suit I have, I'd be just pleased as punch with that. I really like the body armor in the Bison.
Good stuff. All right, what didn't we cover?
I guess
Carlos,
one
seems
thing I
like you're
can
talking
add.
about your
I'm sorry, I was sitting here trying to talk. I've been on enough conference calls at work. I should know to unmute myself. Um, a lot of people talk about color and cosmetics. I will tell you from experience, and especially putting my son leathers, um, there's a lot to be said about heat retention with the darker colors. Um, yes, there is a cool factor, but the reason we choose to have lighter colors with the panels and the expansion panels that we have is over the course of the day, and take it from me, who's ridden a Sedici suit. It's a $400 Sedici suit in all black all day long. I was overheating. I could not ride, and every little, especially like I don't ride at the caliber you guys ride at. At least I haven't for a while. But when it comes to Garrett on the track, I want every advantage. That usually means higher perforations. That usually means lighter colors. That means more panels, more ventilation. And those are all things that something off the rack would not offer him. Um, the protection, that is so important. But over the course of the day, my hope is that he doesn't wreck, as we all. So the other part of it is, if there are no wrecks, we take the worst part out of the equation. Well, beginning of the track day or the race to the end, how did that suit fare? How did I feel at the end of the day? And I will tell you from experience, the darker suits are just painful.
Yep, I can't agree more on that point. The key thing be riding at the top of your game is being comfortable and having control over your body. And man, if you have something just like your suit that's just sapping that away from you, it makes for a very long day. And the last session, you may be sitting out because your body just really can't take it anymore. The one feature that I haven't seen in a custom suit that is really appealing to me is dual zippers on the front, just to make getting in and out of the suit a little more easy, especially if you're at a really hot track day and you want to be able to at least take part of the suit off between sessions to stay cooler. And when you have an airbag under your suit and that single zipper in the front, often I'm leaving my suit on just because it's too much hassle to get in and out. Vanson used to have the dual zippers on the front, and I know there's a couple other brands that have them, but it's certainly not commonplace at this point. But comfort's a huge deal to me personally, so it's something I definitely think about when I'm looking at suits.
Excellent. Very cool, guys. I see that Jessie had to pull off, getting a call from work there. Are there any final remarks before we wrap things up for tonight?
Yeah, I really appreciate getting feedback from everybody and get the input, because buying suits is something we are going to do as long as we continue to ride track days, unless we're like Sean, washing our suit each time and getting an amazing amount of longevity out of suits. I would say, me personally, I'm replacing a suit every 2 or 3 years. Part of that's damage, part of that's just I do a lot of track days.
Yeah, well, welcome to my world, pal.
Yeah.
I'm replacing my child suit every year.
Yeah. First world problems, right? I'm having to replace the suit every year. Poor me.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, just because he's growing, not necessarily because the suit's bad, you know?
Yeah.
But no, Claudio, this was really helpful. Jesse brought up a lot of great points. It's interesting comparing the Bison process to Flex, even to Mythos. And so, yeah, and I love having Sean here, because I love the fact that he can call me out of my BS any single time, because he knows the stuff.
Only out of love.
I'm just a coach on the sideline, man. My glory days are way behind me until I get the Panigale back. Friday, baby.
Oh yes, if you need a place to store that, I will make room no matter what it takes.
You guys are more than welcome to ride it.
For 6 months.
So quick story on the Panigale, before I let you guys go, because I gotta go. I bought that bike as a present for my best friend. It would say it's a 2012 $11.99 Panigale, and gorgeous bike, one of my favorite bikes ever. And he wrecked it because he didn't know how to ride a Ducati. He's a street rider. He went in the very first night that he was on it. He almost pulled a Max Biaggi and brought it back down. He rode it for a couple more months, and then he wrecked it. And now it's sitting at the shop. And I keep going back, and he's also one of our sponsors. So I said, Mike, it's breaking my heart to see this bike sitting here. What's it gonna take to get this? He goes, if you want it, take it. I said, well, I'm still paying for the dang bike. It's like, yeah, it's my bike. I gave it to you as a present, but if you don't want it. So yeah. So hopefully by Friday it will have new fairings, and yeah, it'll be ready to ride.
Oh, I'm just waiting to see that on the dirt track behind your barn dominium. You have a Panigale dirt tracker.
Nice. All right, very cool. Well, thanks, guys. This is another great discussion once again. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoy the rest of the week, and I hope to see you all soon, either at the track or at the next BTT.
Looking forward to it. See you guys at the track soon. And Sean, we'll see you at the track in March. Is it
I
March
look
or
forward to it.
April? Sorry,
It's
April.
April. Yeah, April.
Yeah.
Is anybody going to MSRH in February or no?
I am going because I can't get enough riding. So.
Oh, nice. On member day, or you're going to Ride Smart?
I'll be going to Ride Smart, and I think I'm taking Baby Smurf out to MSRH because it actually worked really well at Katy. Well, it didn't work well at Katy, but it behaved itself and did the right things to float my confidence for MSRH.
Okay, cool. Yeah, hopefully I'll see you there. I'm planning to go twice next month, so.
Oh, awesome, man. I haven't seen you ride ever. Realize I've known you for like 3 years and we've never ridden at the same track at the same time.
Yeah,
Wow.
I rode SRH, but I think I was in level 3, and I raced last year just at once at the end, but I'm planning on racing next month, and then going to Ride Smart as well, so
Cool.
hopefully I'll see.
It's only a
And
couple
you-
weeks away.
Huh?
It's only a couple of weeks away.
Yeah, 2 weeks and 3 weeks till race weekend.
Yep. So I'll
Very
be looking
cool.
for you. Oh, that reminds me, I got to get us a paddock space. You're welcome to come over.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll throw in on that.
Yeah. It'll be ready when you show up. Just got to find out who else is coming. I think we have ample capacity.
Awesome.
Cool beans.
Very cool, guys. All right. You all take care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Claudia.
Thanks, Claudia.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
You bet.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.